Hi friends, and welcome back to Cooking 100-Year-Old Recipes. In this episode, I am making Lenten croquettes. And I want to talk a little bit about the croquette. There are many croquette recipes in this book. And I was looking around for the origins of them. And Google will tell you they were invented by Escoffier in France in 1898. Which is, I don't want to say anyone's a liar, but it's not true, because just simply the mere fact this book was published 2 years before that. And if you've ever written a book, if you know anyone who's written a book, if you know the process of writing a book, the book was in the works probably multiple years prior to publishing. There's a lot of recipes in this old book. So they're more considered a Dutch origin type of food, and even to this day, second only to fries, they are the most popular snack. And croquettes in the Netherlands are different from those in France or Spain, or even I would consider the Italian arancini to be a croquette of sorts. If you've ever had those, they are delicious balls of rice, the risotto style rice, with a yummy nugget of melted cheese in the center, and then it's dipped in egg and fried in crispy crumbs, so that technically falls into the croquette category. The shape can be this kind of cylinder shape that you see in the videos on the screen, or they can be round, and I've made them before on the channel out of sweet potato. So let's look at this recipe today. This is a vegetarian dish, but I am making some with some ham, so vegetarians, I'm sorry if that's going to be a little bothersome, but I really wanted to make just lentil croquettes and then lentil and ham for extra flavor for my guests that might want those. It's quite simple, and we're going to go in the kitchen now, and I'm going to show you how I make them. The first step is to soak the half cup of lentils in water overnight. That seems a little excessive because this is a quick cooking bean, but I did soak them. I wanted to follow the instructions. And the quarter cup of dried lima beans would also be soaked. However, because I made that extremely delicious lima bean soup in the last video, I have some of the cooked lima bean reserved from that, so I won't be cooking that additionally today. I'll add it in once I've cooked the lentils. Now I'm going to make some soft breadcrumbs from this tired old bread on the verge of getting moldy. And I like to use my little mini food processor for this. We are a waste not, want not kind of kitchen home. I don't spend all this time baking bread every week to let it go moldy. But I also don't want to buy new pans because the loaf has been eaten in 3 days. And I'm removing the so-called seasonings, as the recipe says, which are the celery pieces, carrot pieces, and half of an onion before I drain the lentils. So the recipe says to run it through a sieve to get it really fine, but in these modern times I am going to use the nifty stick blender. You can run it through a sieve if you have the patience for that. I did that with the lima bean soup recipe because I knew it needed to be super silky, like a cream of potato soup, but for lentil croquettes, which I've made lentil patties before, I like a tiny bit of texture in them. So it's just personal preference. While my mixture chills, I'm going to make up a sauce to serve with it. Now in the book, she says to serve it with a tomato sauce, but I'm going to do a tahini sauce just because I want to. Tomato is not my favorite. So how I make it is some tahini, of course. I'll do a lot. I have the kettle on boiling. You might hear that because I usually use hot water to bring this together. And some lemon. Salt. And garlic. Now, if you're a vegetarian watching this recipe, you're probably very familiar with making this kind of sauce. Let's get over rice and vegetables. And bring in the hot water. A little more salt, a little more garlic, a little more lemon, and more water. Tahini is actually kind of strong. It's a mild flavor, but it's distinct. There we go, that looks nice. Perfect. Alright, set that aside, and vegetarians, you can look away because I'm going to use some of the ham from the garnish that I used for the lima bean soup in my last video, which if you haven't seen it, I cannot recommend that soup enough. It is just incredible. So I'm going to put ham in some of the croquettes. Not all of them. Oh my gosh, there's a lima bean that didn't make it in the pot. I'll just finely dice up. Oh, a little bit. Should be very fine though because the lentil filling is a paste at this point. So also add some texture as well, some nice smoky, salty flavor to the beans. Ham and beans is always so good together. I'm going to start heating the oil, and I will put it on a medium high, or just medium heat, not medium high, a 5 on a 1 to 10 scale. Oil. I'm using canola while I shape the croquettes. So I've got my mixture out of the fridge. It's been in there for about 4 hours. It's gotten pretty thick. So this is a standard breading. There'll be a beaten egg and then breadcrumbs. And I'm using, like I always use, panko, just plain, and I will season it with salt and pepper. In their little small bowl, because mine aren't going to be any bigger than this. No sense in having them fly all over the place. I'm a big fan of containing the breadcrumbs. Salt should be good. Pepper. Give it a little mix. The egg. I'm gonna just put some ham on top and start forming some of the croquettes around that. My oil is hot. I hear it dancing, making a little noise. And I have a bowl of water just to wet my fingers to help with the shaping. already browning up.